Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Shop, the place where we get to talk shop with experts from a variety of industries on communication-related issues that affect you in work and in life. We live and work in a multicultural society, and the things that make us different are what brings a lot of richness and interest to our day-to-day activities. Yet, whether you're from a dominant culture or a minority culture, the sensitivities around diversity and inclusiveness can leave us all feeling like we're walking on multicultural eggshells. To help us look at this topic in an open, frank, and fun way is diversity and inclusiveness expert Tina Varughese. Tina Varughese is a workplace diversity expert with years of experience helping organizations flourish through diversity, inclusiveness, and improved communication. She breaks down barriers to create a comfortable and fun space where people ask the questions they might otherwise be afraid to ask. Tina is a popular and accomplished speaker with a style all her own. Engaging, knowledgeable, and downright hilarious, her interactive approach makes the often thorny topic of diversity accessible, comfortable, and interesting to employees and leaders in many different industries. And here is a bonus fun fact for you. Tina has been the literal face of diversity when she was chosen to be in Dove's campaign for Real Beauty, representing the beauty in diversity. Tina Varughese, the beautiful Tina, welcome to Talk Shop. Thank you so much for coming on board today to talk about diversity in the workplace. And that's a pretty hot topic. You must be getting a lot of inquiries about that at the moment.
Yeah, it wasn't the sexiest of topics when I first started, but it's definitely becoming a much more hot topic and in-demand topic now, for sure.
How did you get into this area of discussing the multicultural and diversity and cross-cultural communication within an organizational context? How did that happen for you?
So I used to manage our immigration office for the province of Alberta. And that was many, many eons ago. I was an embryo at the time, and it was right at the peak when we were bringing in skilled workers, when we really needed quite a few coming. So I was on recruitment missions internationally, meeting a lot of immigrants that came, foreign born Canadians who were opening businesses here, et cetera. And when I left the position, I realized there was a huge knowledge gap with Canadian workplaces, American workplaces, as well as with the clients that I was working with. And so I just thought I might be able to fill the gap a little bit with knowledge and awareness. There's a lot of potential conflict and miscommunication simply due to cultural differences, and I thought I could mitigate some of that conflict and create a more positive workplace so that given that Canada is so culturally diverse, we're at about 20% foreign born as a country, and that increases with urban centers. After I left the government, I had my own relocation and settlement firm where I worked with oil and gas expats that were coming into Calgary. And at the same time, I launched my speaking business. So I was not speaking full-time when I had my relocation and settlement company, and went full-time in 2011.
Okay.
That's how it came to be.
That's a great way into it too, because of course you spent that first bit of your career working deeply with getting people from completely different countries embedded into our own workplace systems, and that must have come with quite a few challenges.
It absolutely did, and because of my own I didn't have enough knowledge when I first started, so I made a lot of faux pas. And I look back even with my own relocation and settlement company and how I handled some of the conversations with some of our more collectivist cultures. I realize now I never should have gotten the contract with how I dealt with conflict. I'm looking back going, wow, how I didn't get fired because of what I know now. So knowledge is power. There's no question. Knowledge is power.
As the workforce is not really shifting, but as kind of the cultural landscape of Canada continues to become increasingly diverse, we're seeing more and more I don't want to say the situation, that sounds so lame. This is like white girl foot in the mouth sort of talk here.
I'm often brown girl foot in the mouth. So
oh yeah, I do that a lot. But as you're seeing more like second, third, fourth generation Canadians who are still fitting in that visible minority category. Is there kind of a shift happening in terms of cross-cultural communication there? Because just because someone looks like they're from, I don't know, India or something, doesn't mean they necessarily are. Like they could be full-on Canadian.
Absolutely. Like
and
myself.
still have, like yourself, yes.
I was born here. And one of my biggest pet peeves, and I definitely, when I keynote conferences and explain this concept, a lot of people will say, where are you from? And it really irks them when I say, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, go Riders. Like they
Yeah.
really, because I know what they're looking for. And for the most part, people will not be offended if you've created a relationship of trust and positive intent. If you say simply, what is your cultural background?
Mm-hmm.
That would be the better question, I suppose, to ask. Because if you were to ask me, what is my cultural background, you would find out that my parents came from India over 60 years ago. I was born in Saskatoon, moved to Calgary, Alberta in 94. So you're just receiving so much more information from me that's going to help you build a relationship, which is what every business, every communication, every relationship is about trustful relationship building. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to get more information from changing the question slightly and your intent is positive, why wouldn't you do that?
Right. And I like the notion of that. What is your cultural background as well? Because it does create more opportunity for people, I think, within Canada to say, well, like you said, I'm Saskatoon, go Riders. That is a cultural background. Or I'm from Newfoundland or Quebec. And we're such a big country. So we have these pockets of culture that aren't necessarily foreign country culture, that also invites an opportunity to celebrate and share and talk about.
Absolutely. Culture, can change from urban centers such as Toronto to small towns.
Sorry, go ahead.
Culture even within sectors is very different. Agriculture versus banking, very different cultures. So culture is different across the board, and it's just so important to be aware of that. And that's sort of the place I come from, is a place of awareness.
Right. So with that in mind, how would you define diversity in the workplace? Because it's kind of a trophy word, right? We're a diverse and inclusive workplace. When it comes down to nuts and bolts, how would you define it?
So when I look at diversity, I look at, and you can look, it's pretty broad based, but when I look at diversity, for the most part, especially when I'm defining it from a keynote perspective, I'm looking at gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, age, weight, can all be diversity. And how we look at diversity within that framework is sort of how I would look at it. Diversity to me is where you live, but inclusion is putting the neighbor back in the hood. So it's really just about inviting everybody to the party, rather than, so we all want to be involved and not just receive the invite, but be invited to the party as well. So that's sort of what we're looking at when we're trying to create positive, inclusive work environments.
Have you ever run into a situation where a work environment is pushing back against that? Like, no, you've been brought into a situation to consult with an organization that says, no, we are not, this whole multicultural or inclusivity or diversity is nonsense. We're not having any of it. Have you ever dealt with that? Yeah. Why does that happen? Why does that happen?
And it may not necessarily be the company, but within the company, employees, I can't tell you how many times I have had middle-aged white males say that they are the minority. And middle-aged white males say that they are the minority. And then I just recently had a middle-aged white female say she didn't get a job. And she felt like, oh, well, my skin isn't brown enough to get the job. And that was the comment she made to me. Mm-hmm. And she said, and she's funny about it, she said, I hate myself for saying that, but that's how I feel. And that was in 2018. And I can't say I necessarily disagree with how they feel. However, there is a reason why diversity and inclusion initiatives need to exist. A lot of that has to do with unconscious biases that are very prevalent, both with gender. We have gender bias, maternal bias, cultural bias that is prevalent. And so even from a human resources perspective, There is a reason why companies have to look at unconscious biases now to ensure, and there's a lot of reasons why we want diversity and inclusion. A lot of people push back, but they don't recognize there are massive benefit. And when they recognize the massive benefit of diversity and inclusion, they are more apt to buy into it. So, you know, companies, even by increasing the diversity of an organization by 1%, it will increase profit massively. So, and there's numbers to back that up. So it is definitely a profitable thing. But I look at it more from not just diversity from that framework where I spoke of before, but diversity of thought. You know, when you have diversity of thought and diversity of perspective, you have more innovative and environment. So for example, voice recognition software didn't recognize female voices when it was first launched. You know, Dyson hand dryers did not recognize hands that were not white.
What?
Yes, when it was initially launched. And so with diversity, you can create a lot more opportunity as well, because we create more markets. So there is a profitability perspective. So it's not just the right thing to do, it's the more profitable thing to do as well. And when companies understand, you know, and we also recognize too that with that diversity and in innovation and positive work environments, then companies definitely, and statistically positive work environments will always outperform negative work environments. So why wouldn't you embrace that? And most people find that the cultures are much more positive too. When we're spending more time with our employees than our spouses and our partners, why wouldn't you want to have fun and be more engaged while doing it?
That's a great question. I don't think anyone would ever say, no, I want a less fun workplace. No, let's make it more even keeled and ensure that everyone is identical. Like, that's soul killing. It's soul killing.
It's
so
boring.
With diversity initiatives within the workplace or inclusiveness initiatives, often I think that the invective that's thrown that way is the whole affirmative action, which has now just become a curse word. But with diversity initiatives, how can companies do it right? Because I think that there's probably good ways of doing it and bad ways of doing it. What are some tips that you might have for companies who want to do it and do it well?
Right. And this isn't a shameless plug, because I wouldn't necessarily say, but diversity and inclusion training will have huge impact if done properly. And the reason I say if done properly is that when diversity and inclusion training is not done properly, it can have a shame and blame negative impact on employees. So, and that actually, we're starting to see that a lot in the US, that there's a shame and blame mentality with diversity and inclusion training. So employees actually, it backfires. And there is actually more issues at the workplace internally than less. So, you know, really strong diversity and inclusion training programs will create awareness that will help, but also will hopefully include strategies. So people, I'm a big believer of, okay, what can I do after I take this training that I can implement right away with, so if that be, you know, a strategy on how to communicate more effectively, understanding that people from different cultures have different communication styles, understanding that people coming from different cultures may learn differently than someone that was born in Canada. So how do you change the way you communicate, both verbal or written, with your employees to make that workplace stronger? So just that awareness piece goes really far. And what I find is people, you know, even if you've been a leader or manager for 5 years, 10 years, and it's going well for you, it doesn't mean that you can't improve. Most people want to improve upon their own leadership capacity. And so teaching people, and I don't define leader as C-suite. I define, like, leader to me is not defined by title, rank, or position. Everybody has the power to inspire, educate, and learn. We all have that. It doesn't matter if you're the coffee barista, the janitor, you know, it doesn't matter what the position is. We all can learn how to communicate more effectively with everybody at the workplace to create more innovative and inspiring environments.
So for the people who are either watching or listening to this right now and thinking, okay, well, I don't know if my organization is going to get on board with this, or maybe their organization is, but they want some things that they can do now to make themselves better at diversity communication and cross-cultural communication. What are some tips that you would have that we can do on an individual basis to help with this?
Sure. There's many, many things that organizations or individuals can do. So first of all, one thing you can do is look at your sphere of influence. So usually when we're looking at a sphere of influence, you're looking at the top 5 people in your circle that influences you. And now decide how diverse is that sphere of influence. So for example, looking at you, Lauren, is all of the 5 around, I have no idea how old you are, but I'm going to put you in the 30 to 35. So okay,
we'll go with that.
So are they all in the same age range as you? Are they all female? Are they all Caucasian? Are they all in the same position? So are they all speakers, trainers in communication? And if you're finding that they're all falling in that same sphere of influence, you want to create a more diverse sphere of influence. You will learn more from people that are more diverse from you. So look at, first of all, surrounding yourself by a sphere of influence that is very diverse. So that would be one tip. I am a big believer of mentoring. And some people believe in the concept of reverse mentoring, but I just look at mentoring as mentoring. So generationally, there's a lot of generational differences that can cause conflict in the workplace, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Especially, I really encourage people to choose a mentor, again, that is very diverse from them. And if you are asked to be a mentor, so I'm a mentor for a 24-year-old Chinese male speaker that speaks on play, which I love. I think that's a pretty cool topic. So I will do things like invite him to networking events, because that's how he's going to increase his network. I will invite him to my own speaking events so that he can learn from someone that's a more seasoned speaker on how I utilize my own platform and content skills. I will call him periodically, send him a quick email. On the reverse side, he is stronger than me on things like social media. I just joined Instagram literally 2 days ago. I thought that. And the only reason I joined Instagram was because my conference participants are getting younger and younger and younger. And they said to me, Tina, are you on Insta? And honestly, I'm like, are they referring to an Instapot? Like, I thought they wanted me to increase my cooking time. I thought that they wanted me to be on Instagram. And I realized, gee, you have to go where your clients are, or where your followers are, or where your advocates are. So that's, a place where he can teach me. Absolutely. And just how he presents himself, learning from him in terms of how he introduces himself to people, because he speaks on play. So he has a playful attitude. So we can learn so much from one another, just from a mentoring perspective. Another small thing organizations can do, and I'm a big believer of onboarding. So when a company is onboarding a new employee, make sure that they match them with another employee, and don't have them attend meetings so that they can understand the corporate culture without a negative ramification attached to their job. So meaning that they're not expected to perform in that meeting, they're simply expected to observe at that time, so that they have, and especially in collectivist cultures, they have a much longer onboarding period than, we are very much of a culture where we give people a job or a task, and we'll say, come to me with questions, but we don't necessarily walk them through it. And if you're coming from a collectivist culture, you would be potentially very worried or scared to tell your boss, look, I don't really understand what you're asking of me, especially with hierarchy and how they view hierarchy. It's very different than in Canada, where we're much more lateral. You know, we're a very roll up the sleeves and get in there. And you may not even be positioning yourself as a leader with all of your employees if you're using that typical Canadian leadership style, because you're not recognizing that leadership styles are different across the world. So it's just small things, observations. How do babies learn how to walk? Well, they watch their moms and dads. So just through observation, we can learn a lot. The last tip I'll give, and I can give you more, but I know we're hurting for time, is people should look at, especially if you're trying to further your career, and it doesn't matter if you're foreign born or a millennial, whatever it might be, join a board. When you join a board, you're in a volunteer role, but you're increasing your capacity. So for example, let's say you're in marketing, but you join a board and you become treasurer. Well, you don't have a negative ramification attached to your job, but you're increasing your capacity. So now you can put that on your resume. You've increased your own skill set, and now you've made yourself even more employable. Even more promotable. So those are just a few things that people can do to help themselves when looking at those immediate strategies. Definitely.
Those are some great things that are very, like you said, very implementable. Anyone can do it, and it would benefit multiple areas of your career.
Absolutely.
Not just that diversity ability, but all sorts of different areas that can help you move forward to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, Tina, you teased me over email that you're writing a book.
I've been pushed.
I'm making you accountable now, because everyone's going to be waiting for it to come out. Tell us, give us the 30-second overview of the book.
So my signature keynote is called 50 Shades of Beige,
which is the best title ever that I've ever come across for a keynote. I laugh every time I see it. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and you know what? It works. The minute I changed that title of my keynote, I had more engagement. There's no question. And plus, then people recognize I'm coming from a fun and humorous place. And I had been asked many, many times, write the book. And so I'm finally starting on the process. And I definitely know it will not be a quick process, but I have to say it's very exciting for me to be writing a book. And I just look at myself as the medium. I am doing a ton of informational interviews with people across the board, people that are in CEO positions, people that are foreign born, but in leadership positions, people that just newly arrived here from countries across the world, if it be the Philippines, India, China, Syria, Iran, and understanding their experiences and challenges and the opportunities when they came to our amazing country, and what employers can do to help them succeed, and what they can do to help themselves succeed. So it's written in a very funny, humorous way. I find that we can learn and laugh at the same time, and
Yep.
if we can learn and laugh at the same time, it's going to be so much more impactful. So that's hopefully the goal of this book.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing it for sure. And so that everyone can get more of you, whether they want to bring you in as a consultant or a trainer or a speaker, where can our listeners and our viewers find you? What's your online home?
My website is tworksforyou.ca. You would not know I have a marketing degree with tworksforyou.ca, with Tina being me and works being the goal initially when I started that amazing company name 12 years ago. Seems to work. It's a lot easier to pronounce than my last name. So tworksforyou.ca. However, you can also find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
Excellent. And I need to follow Sweet with you for getting on Instagram, because that's one thing I've been like, no. But
and I'm older than you, and I'm doing it.
I know. Well, thank you for coming on board with us here today. It was great getting to get some of your wisdom in this very short format. But please bring Tina into your organization or into your conference. She has so much wisdom and knowledge and practical tips, as you can see, to share on this topic. That is everything for today's Talk Shop. Of course, if you would like to make sure that you get more great interviews like this sent straight to your inbox on industry leaders about how you can become a better communicator in your work, in your industry, or your field, head over to laurensergi.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter and you won't miss another one of these. Again, thank you, Tina, for being here with me today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next Talk Shop interview. Bye.
Bye.